Alexich, one up towards Darien, who's trying to avoid the graveyard today. Then Zeke's Rise and Karma taken away by Gambit. So taking away that Rise, bit more versatility there. The Ziggs against Overpow and Karma, who's been so successful in support role.
There is so much to catch up on right now, but I'm just going to say that all of the junglers are still available.
Yep.
Knowing that you've got that Lee Sin up, knowing that Evelyn's there, knowing that Jinzhao's there, I think both Jankos and Diamond are going to have a field day. With ROCCAT locking in that first pick Thresh, I am quite happy to see that. It is Vander's most played champion by a massive margin. And when he is on form, when he is landing those death sentences, he is a threat to absolutely everybody. So we'll see if he can thread the needle and find those picks. Yeah,
interesting choice. In fact, the most contested support if you had these two players together. 14 games played for Vander, 11 for Edward. And Vander has almost double the KDA, in fact, more than double the KDA of Edward on that Thresh. So that's going to be an important pick for them. That's where he won his MVP award with his Thresh skills. Over on the other side, though, Irelia for Darien.
So that is an interesting first pick. If you look at the rest of the top lane, a lot of champions are still up. We've already seen the Jax, we've already seen the Dr. Mundo. With Renekton banned out, this is telling us that Darien is very confident on that pickup. He wants to try get some lane presence down. I want to see how aggressive he plays, because the one flaw with Irelia, if you are in your opponent's face all the time, you burn through your mana pool very, very quickly. So we'll need to keep a close eye on Darien and his resource management to see how well he survives this laning phase.
Lucian also picked up for Genja, so his brief affair with Caitlyn, he's gone back to Lucian now, which is the more standard pick, actually, for Genja. You'd also argue that that's the most highly contested AE carry when you look at these two players.
I guarantee it. When you look at the meta right now regarding your AD carries, it's Lucian and Caitlyn that are really head and shoulders above the rest, and depending on the rest of your composition, will then determine who else you want to lock in. We do see that the Jinx has been locked in now for Celaver, and in my opinion, it's a hit-and-miss champion for Celaver. He's had some games where he's done great, he's had some games where his positioning and his slightly weaker laning phase has cost him. Jinx is a champion that when she gets ahead, she has so many tools to stay there, but the moment she can't kill you with her Super Mega Death Rocket, all of a sudden, she's not a kill threat. You've got Irelia that can jump on her. With Kha'Zix still available and most likely going to get locked in, he's going to jump on her as well. I'm expecting Celaver to have a tough time against this very mobile, aggressive champions from Gambit.
And Xaxus in the top lane going to be bringing out the Jax. First time, actually, that we're going to see Jax for Xaxus so far in this split. And Jax has had his fair mixture, I think we can say, of success and not quite as much success. We all know, though, once or if a Jax gets going, he's a very big threat.
Yeah, it's one of those things where there is a time bomb on it. You know, the moment Jax becomes big enough that nobody from Gambit can 1v1 him, they will lose the game. This is what happened in game 1 of the previous quarterfinal, where there was nobody in Alliance that could deal with Young Bucks Jax in a 1v1 scenario. So he just sits alone by himself in a side lane and continues pushing it up. So we will need to see how Gambit decide to deal with him. I'm anticipating some additional love from the junglers to get in his face and make his laning phase a bit more difficult.
And speaking of junglers, Kha'Zix was locked in here for Diamond, and well, we know how strong he is on Kha'Zix. I almost feel like we say that all the time when we're talking about Diamond and his performances on junglers, but Kha'Zix is a real speciality for him.
7-0-2, the last time that Gambit beat ROCCAT, which is 2 weeks ago, it was the jungler that he was running when they had that siege composition, and Alex would land a spear, Diamond would jump in there and kill somebody, and he did that over and over and over. We've talked a lot about the strength of Kha'Zix right now. On 4.5, he is a little less powerful thanks to the tower dive, damage reduction on his tower. And the only reason I highlight that, if Gambit wants to shut down Xaxus on Jax, they need to execute their dives flawlessly. They cannot afford to miss abilities or miss time abilities, because it's going to be very difficult not only to dive Jax under a tower, but to ensure you get the kill.
And we're also going to see Nami here coming out for Edward, and that will also be a first pick of the season here for Gambit. Edward not picked Nami up until now. I'm just going to completely skip away from the Garen, because that's probably not going to get locked in.
I don't think so.
And move over to ROCCAT's final 2 picks with Elise and Lulu.
What I really find interesting is with Evelyn available, Jankos has decided to go for Elise over the likes of Evelyn. Over the likes of Lee Sin. I mean, they were both up, they were both there, and he's opted to go for the magic-based jungler. I think they're feeling confident in the amount of damage that you've got, the mixed damage from Jax and the burst damage from Jinx. I also like the utility that Elise offers you. A little bit safer with the repel, Cocoon scales a little better into the late game, and you have some siege potential. throw out those zaps and those glitter lancers and some volatile spiderlings, and all of a sudden you do have some siege potential on the side of ROCCAT.
Final pick for Gambit was none other than Kassadin. He's been banned so many times this season. However, he did have that rework, has been banned for 4 weeks now,
yes.
Actually. And today is the first time that we're actually going to see Kassadin available. Gambit take it.
So the biggest thing to note on Kassadin is his Q has had the biggest change. It no longer applies a silence. It gives him a shield when he does actually cast and jump in. I feel like in general Kassadin's damage has been reduced, especially in the early and mid game. But given enough time, given enough items, he still has the potential to instantly burst you down. The one thing I do want to highlight, you've got a wild growth in there that can save somebody. You do have the Thresh Lantern as well. So Alex is going to need to time his engages perfectly to make it work. And
the fact is, on the other side, you've got a Jax who's also going to be scaling up like a beast. And we'll see how those two face off. But before we get into our first game of this best of 3, let's see who you guys voted for over on LOLesports.com. According to the numbers, you think Gambit are going to win the series by 69%.
Yeah, that's not surprising. I think, you know, I feel like Gambit are probably the stronger favorites in this series as well. They've been boot camping for just shy of 2 weeks. You know, I talked on this earlier as well. Alex has said they've got a team analyst. I mean, this is the first time we've heard anything remotely of the sort for Gambit. And if Genja's going to build some real items on an AD carry, and they can fix some of their decision-making and their rotations, this could be a very strong Gambit team.
Well, let's not forget that Edward tweeted yesterday that he's broke his finger. Turns out it was his finger on his foot, which is actually a toe. We'll let him off on that one, though, because we're going to move into game. We'll see if that broken toe affects Edward this time around. It is, of course, game 1 between Gambit and ROCCAT in this best of 3, with a place in the semi-final up for grabs. And for the loser, still the threat there of looming relegation.
Yeah, it's very, very scary. Alliance, you know, you weren't 100% sure they were going to make it in that previous series. They were behind in game 1, significantly behind in game 2, but they did manage to pull it out and make it work for them in their favor. Right now, Gambit grouped up on the bottom side of the map and going to be invading on ROCCAT. This is something that's not traditional. We don't see Gambit going for these sorts of invades very often, and I think Celaver should be able to get away as long as he flashes the bubble.
Gets the early vision there, and Edward is going to be the one. I was going to say walking, but it's a fish. I'm not swimming along on grass, not something a fish does really either. But Gambit have pushed themselves in towards that red buff area. We see the ward going down on the buff, and instantly the recalls start to happen. You see Thresh off to one side, Lulu on the other, Celaver on Jinx is waiting on the bottom side, but Gambit have got the information here that they wanted, picking up that early ward, getting the vision in there, and leaving.
So we'll see how they make use of that information. Once again, we talked about how we're anticipating Darien to get a couple more ganks in that top lane. And by getting that additional vision, seeing all the members of ROCCAT, it's going to allow them to actually quite safely get control of their own buffs. I do want to highlight the fact that there are 2 teleports on the side of Gambit right now, both with Darien and Alexich. And considering how powerful that teleport is when you TP to a tower, it's going to give Gambit an immense amount of mid-game map presence and map control. And we'll see how they make use of it.
Well, we see that Gambit once again moving across the map, getting a ward into the Death Brush. And it looks like that blue buff will be safe for now. So Gambit getting some early vision in there. Are we going to see that lane swap happening? We already are seeing that happening as Gambit move Lucian and Nami to the top lane. But ROCCAT are ready for this one. They're going to bring Jinx and Thresh to that top side. That will leave Lulu and Kassadin in the mid lane. Irelia Jax in the bottom.
So going for the straight head-to-head, we may not be seeing any of these funny, fast tower pushes that we did see from the first 2 games of the last series. But we need to see how this lane matches up. I actually quite like the idea of a Nami Lucian when you don't get hooked.
Looking the fish, but I'm not sure they've got the damage here at level 1. Let's talk about summoner spells here while we're on the topic of damage, because, you know, traditionally a support will have an ignite in there. That's obviously all changed now, and we see heals from both AD carries and exhaust on both supports.
Yeah, I actually think without jungle intervention, there is sustain on the side of Nami, there's a shield on the side of Thresh on ROCCAT's side, and knowing that Lucian can bully Jinx early on, even though Thresh is slightly more effective than Nami, I do feel like this lane is pretty even. What I do like is once Edward gets some points into that Tidecaller's Blessing, the Nami E, he's going to be able to put that on Lucian, and Lucian with his passive double shot will get both of those procs off immediately, making his early game trading and burst that much more significant. So we'll keep an eye on that lane in a moment. As you can see, Diamond in the bottom lane, coming in behind Jankos. This should be a pretty successful gank.
This could be dangerous. Level 2 has got his leap strike. Actually uses a flash there as well, Xaxus, to get back to the safety of that turret. That's an early summoner spell brought out there from Gambit's side of things. Jankos is still hanging around, but you can see there's a ward completely giving his position away there. So Gambit know that Elise is hanging around. They're just going to push this wave to the turret.
I would expect the same thing to happen in the next couple of minutes. Knowing that Xaxus doesn't have that flash available, and knowing that both Irelia and Kha'Zix can leap after him once he manages to leap away, that is quite a powerful position to be in. So we'll see how successful Diamond is at getting that potential first blood. He's about to run into a spider in the jungle. I think it's going to be a pretty even trade.
Cocoon going out there, not quite got the right angle to catch onto Diamond. The Spiderling, though, did have the range just to get in there. Just want to touch on that mid lane for now as well. Xaxus, we are actually going to see a hook, so let's forget that one. Chompers are down as well. Edward going to go low. That's a good bubble from him. Exhaust comes onto Genja as well. Wow. Darien tries to get in there, but he doesn't manage to get through onto that, and that is his teleport down.
Flame Chompers from Celaver not only holds Gambit in place, but it also catches Darien the moment he spawns after that summoner spell was used. So ROCCAT, they do get away. I do want to highlight that both Exhaust and Heal were used on the side of ROCCAT, whereas Heal is still available for Genja. Thanks to Darien using that TP top, he's removed some of that pressure from Alex. But if you look at Alex's CS, he's 25 to 25, tied with Overpow on a melee champion. So this is actually very good CSing in the first 5 minutes. Overpow hasn't been able to punish quite as hard, and you could argue that the fact that Lulu no longer gets 2 Glitter Lancers off could be a potential reason for that.
Yeah, we also saw that Crystalline Flash start as we are going to see Celaver going aggressive here on towards Genja. There is the repel. Actually had the Lantern. We see the teleport coming in on towards that top side. That's how Xaxus starts this time. They go towards Vander. There's the flash around and the first blood coming in. It's Edward that secures that one. And they, I think, forgot there was a second teleport on the Gambit side. They've got to keep their eyes out for that.
Yeah, and you don't expect 2 teleports before level 6. Neither Irelia nor Kassadin had their ultimates available to actually jump in for those kills. So I think that's actually very good, decisive, aggressive play from the side of Gambit. It has netted them first blood, considering the first attempt was a fail. You do have to call that out. Even though Darien failed that gank, he's actually not even behind on CS. So Xaxus did not punish that lead.
And speaking of not punishing that lead, Alex went top lane, and we didn't see Overpow stretching anything out in the mid lane either. Only 2 CS in the advantage that he has right now, but that's going to be very even with this wave stacked up, and Alex just continues there to harass things off with that shield, pretty much blocking everything that Overpow throws in.
Yeah, and also with Kassadin on 4.5, his passive reduces all of the magic damage by 15% right now, so it's going to reduce a lot of the trading power that Overpow has in these mid to late game team fights. The thing that ROCCAT are going to be looking for as objectives like towers and dragons become more apparent is trying to create this death ball of champions, having Lulu, Jax, Elise rushing through a group of Gambit's members and having Wild Growth being very disruptive. Gambit, on the other hand, they're looking for assassinations. They're looking for Darien to jump on a target and have him blown up by Diamond and Xaxus. So the key in these next engagements will be whether or not Gambit can blow somebody up through the Wild Growth.
You see both junglers actually heading back off into the jungle. They were hovering around that mid lane, but realizing there's probably not much up for grabs on that area of the map. You can see that both Overpow and Xaxus are level 6 now. That gives, of course, the Rift Walk to Xaxus and Wild Growth as well on the other side in case that's needed. Edward did just come down from the top there and put himself a ward in position, which was quickly taken away.
I want to highlight how much vision Gambit has on the map right now. We will in just a moment. Xaxus fancies a chance of Darien.
I'm not sure he's got the damage to actually finish it without going under the tower. In fact, Darien going very aggressive in there. We see that Xaxus has a level advantage onto him. That's not going to last too long though, and we'll see if Darien just throws his ultimate straight out here to bully Xaxus out of the lane. Apparently he doesn't need to. Xaxus wants to recall.
Yeah, probably saving it a little bit for the additional regen if a fight were to break out. If you look at the minimap, the number of wards that Gambit have down right now is very important to note. When we were coming into this matchup, we were looking at the ward placements from each respective team, and ROCCAT had a significant lead. They had actually placed 383 green wards to the 245 green wards of Gambit, and you can see on the map already, the stats favor Gambit. So this could have been one of the things that as a team they've been working on in preparation for the playoffs, improving their inferior vision control.
See a bug waiting there on that top try-bush. Pink Ward was there, so they knew that ROCCAT hadn't spotted him, but as he starts to back away, there's actually a Pink Ward which will spot him here inside of that Death Brush. Diamond going to go in there. That's going to be a bit of free gold for him and denying a bit more of that ROCCAT vision. Yeah, and when you've got 2 teleports on your side, all of those wards are doubly important. They give you more avenues or opportunities to jump in behind your opponent's squad. Darien is getting close to having his teleport available as we're about to hit this 9 or 10 minute mark. He does have his ultimate available as well, so that's going to increase his damage potential in any of these upcoming fights. But as it stands, even with the kill on their side, Gambit are not significantly ahead in terms of gold, even though they're doing pretty well in this laning phase. Looking for an attempt here on towards Jankos and Overpow. Darien and EpicSkillshot both there. They had Diamond just behind them as well on Kha'Zix, but they were spotted early enough from that one, and ROCCAT just decided to back away. Not going to put too much pressure onto that turret. Let's have a look at the AD carries, because there's a bit of a difference building there. 79 to 59 CS. Good solid lead for Genja early on. Yeah, and you expect that lead considering Celaver and VandeRnoob had to deal with 2 teleports. They've had multiple members of Gambit in their lane trying to shut them down. So I actually think Genja's doing a very good job at CSing, considering he's also been engaging in those fights. When the teleports have come in, he has actually peeled away from the minion line to try and set something up. He does have an assist to his name from that single kill. I do, however, like the pick potential that VandeRnoob has on Thresh. If he can land a death sentence, combine it with a cocoon, and then a counter-strike from Xaxus, it is going to allow them enough time to find kills. But the key is, of course, to not fall further behind. Xaxus may find himself between an Irelia and a Kassadin, because Diamond, he's not going to cancel his... Oh, he just cancels his recall. I think they're going to fancy a chance of Jax here. Well, we actually see as well, over 10 minutes into it now. Elise is in the bush. Yeah, Elise is waiting there. We are going to see a Diamond ulting into this one. They're going to go for Xaxus. Can they finish him off? He's down to half HP. Jankos, though, becomes the target of this one. There's a flash in from Diamond. It's Darien that gets the kill. Xaxus able to jump away, though. That's a nice kill picked up by Gambit. Yeah, the amount of damage returned was just so much higher. Irelia with the hidden style is going to do a little bit more on each and every auto attack than Jax. Jack needs multiple attacks to hit that same burst. I do want to give props to Jankos, or to Xaxus. Oh, Alex is going trading. I want to give props to Xaxus because he did actually move himself closer to Jankos to try and reduce some of that isolation damage from Diamond, but unfortunately it was too little, too late. And we do see Overpow and Alex trading. Here comes Diamond. Alex needs to be careful though. He's decently low from this. Avoid spikes not connected though, and that will give him the ability to just walk away from that. No slow coming in. A lot of pings going up towards that top lane. And just want to touch on that. At the 10-minute mark, there was 86 CS on the board for Genja on Lucian. Now his Lucian average in 9 games is just 69 at 10 minutes. So he's actually farming better this game than his average throughout the entire season so far. And you can theorize, once again, it's because of that support. You know, Gambit have threw resources to that duo lane to try and keep Celaver and VandeRnoob down. It is also a testament to the pre-game discussion where, you know, ROCCAT was saying we feel Genja and Edward are the weaker links of Gambit. So Gambit have invested some resources to get their theoretical weaker links rolling, and it seems to be working out. It hasn't equated to an item lead yet, but that is because both of the AD carries are sitting on a lot of money. 1,700 for Celaver to 2,000 gold for Genja. So the first time they back, they will be looking to pick up those Bloodthirst BF swords, potentially Bloodthirsters if this extended laning continues. Well, they seem quite content with the farming right now, and certainly Genja will be. Still holding a decent lead on that front. We see the Sightstone is also in there for Edward, of course, the recipient of the first blood for Gambit in this top lane, and now they see EpicSkillshot is coming up there to join them again. There's a ward in the river there, though, so even though EpicSkillshot may have come through with that pink ward, knowing there's no vision from ROCCAT, he could have come through, as there is a bubble landing on towards VandeRnoob. Here comes a tidal wave as well. Have they got the damage? Summon a heal was used there by Celaver, and now they're going to try and turn this one around. Not got the damage there to do the business. Heal and exhaust was blown by ROCCAT to survive that trade. Genja holds on to the culling, so none of that was reduced. ROCCAT, they've called in reinforcements, and here comes Jankos and Overpow. Look for the cocoon. There is a bubble, though. The bubble lands, the cocoon misses, and that will be Gambit able to simply walk away from that one. Both Overpow and Jankos had come up. If that cocoon had have landed and the bubble would have missed, that would have been a complete different outcome. And look at this, typical Gambit style. They see that the jungler and the mid lane are in the top lane. They go straight for the first objective here of the Dragon.
You know, it's not over yet. Vander does almost throws out the hook. For the first time in a while, Gambit actually grabbed this Dragon without losing Darien. We so often see them pulling him up. Now we do see a teleport in the river. Here comes Gambit.
Here comes Alex from the side. He's going to burst the damage down onto all three of them. Bubbles missed though, and Xaxus actually using his TP to now get involved in this top lane. In the end, no kills, no masses of damage really done from either side, and that means 2 TPs going to be going down. Overpow's now joining in. They might have the numbers advantage to force them off the tower. It looks like they will.
That was a very uninspiring gank there from Gambit. Not only did the bubble miss from Edward, but Alex came in from the side, throws out the force pulse, but there was no support. Nobody else backed him up. I do want to point out that Darien also burned his teleport. I believe he cancelled it. I did miss that myself, but it is on cooldown, meaning that Gambit are going to have this a few more minutes of passive play. We've been seeing them try to force things down, but at the end of the day, that failed gank and the failed presence means that ROCCAT actually secures the top lane tower to take a tower lead of 2-1.
Have a look down some items here. Darien on Irelia, first time this season. We know that Darien likes to experiment, I'm going to call it, when it comes to builds. Right now he has his Berserker Grease finished off with Home Guard as well, so they can get that speed out from the teleport. Got himself a Sheen up until now, working towards a Phage by the looks of it as well with that Ruby Crystal. Yeah,
he's going to be motoring right now. Keep in mind that the teleport is so much shorter cooldown. And I think the way ROCCAT are playing right now, they're trying to force down these towers. So anytime Darien needs to defend, he can. He's been jumped up by Xaxus, and here comes support.
3 men coming into this one. Can they lock up Darien? I think that they can. He's got no flash. There's a super mega death rocket. It's Jankos that sinks his fangs in there to get that kill. And they've got 5 men here. This is a 5-man push now from ROCCAT on that bottom tower. 3 men from Gambit trying to pull his one back in. They have caught Alex with the hook. The box goes down. Vander picks up that kill. The rest of the team have to back away. This is turret number 3 going down for ROCCAT.
Yeah, a small mistake here by Overpow. He was taking so many turret hits, he needs to use his summoner heal to survive. Remember, we touched in the pregame about how ROCCAT had the abilities to siege, and if you land a key individual targeted skill shot, it will open up that objective. A great death sentence under the tower by Vander allows them to get a kill on Alex, grab themselves the 3rd tower of the game, and take a very small gold lead. Now, ROCCAT, with all of the outer towers down, need to get some deep vision in the jungle of Gambit to ensure that they can siege up on those inner turrets as safe as possible.
And speaking of vision there and Darien going down, we've seen a trend from him when you look a little bit deeper in the statistics in terms of wards. He doesn't give himself that vision very often in the solo lane, whether that's top or bottom.
He really does not. Over the 28 regular games of the Spring Split, Darien purchased 11 green wards and 6 pink wards in total. That's it. He's been relying entirely on his trinkets for vision. If you want to contrast to Xaxus, Xaxus has purchased 96 green wards and 13 pink wards. So 9 times the number of green wards. And if you look at the inventory right now, you can still see more wards on the side of ROCCAT. Although, to be fair, the rest of Gambit have stepped it up this game. They have had very good vision up until, you know, this period of the game now as they've been defending these towers.
And apparently Darien likes to go to the graveyard a little bit more than he was letting on there. We've seen it time and time again from him, but somehow seems to work out for them more often than not. We do see Xaxus and Darien now switching their solo priority towards his top side, but they're not that solo because Diamond is up there with them. Jankos is there, and even Overpow is waiting off to the side here. They're looking for another free kill on Darien.
So for the most part, Jankos has actually been relatively close to Diamond. They seem to have read each other quite well. You'll notice that Diamond is making his way to this top lane, and Xaxus could jump in with a counter-strike.
There is the stun coming down. Jankos is here as well. That's a nice move from Darien to try and get away. Wild Growth goes down as well. Darien's a dead man. Jankos picks up another kill. He's feeding on Darien right now.
Very well executed by ROCCAT. They landed everything they needed to, and I like the fact that Overpow just waited in the wings just long enough to lull Gambit into that false sense of security. He used the Whimsy on himself for the movement speed and lands a very good Wild Growth. Regardless of the tenacity and the crowd control reductions that Irelia picks up, when you've got a constant slow from Wild Growth and you've got a knock-up that cannot be reduced, it just makes it all the more effective. So Well played to ROCCAT. They extend a very small gold lead, but we're still looking for more vision from them. We're still looking for more map control, because truthfully, it's still actually very even, despite them having the tower lead.
Interested to see how this next minute leading into the Dragon all pans out. As you said, the last Dragon went over to Gambit. A capitalization really on the positioning of ROCCAT as they sent their mid laner and jungler towards the top side of the map. This time around, ROCCAT have both their AD carry and support down there, but there's still no real vision of that Dragon area here with less than a minute to go. Overpow Genja just butting heads somewhat in this mid lane as well. Overpow now got himself that Fiend's Unholy Grail with the blasting one. Kassadin, let's touch on him. We've not seen him for a good while because he's been not only reworked but banned a lot before that. Rod of Ages is done for Alex.
So considering this is the first time we're seeing the reworked Kassadin, I think we have to give a lot of props to Alex for doing very well in the farming game. Yeah. He's actually slightly ahead of Overpow with a teleport to the top lane and before 20 minutes. I do feel that, yes, Lulu is still a little bit weaker thanks to the changes on her health picks, but you should still be able to bully Kassadin. You are still a melee versus a ranged. You have the tools to your credit. So either Overpow slacking or Alex is just that good. We do see Xaxus and Darien. Here comes Alex as well.
Oh, Alex just waiting for this one, waiting for Xaxus to go low, but he jumps on towards Darien. Darien dodges off there just in time to stay alive. And now Alex is going head-to-head with Xaxus, who's doing a fair old chunk of damage. Will he jump over to Darien? No, he won't. Darien got the health back. That'll be a kill. The Dragon, in the meantime, did go down, though, in favor of ROCCAT.
So overall net game for ROCCAT, because they even out the Dragons at 1-to-1, they actually come out ahead in the goal. I do want to talk about how scary that is for Gambit, though. That is 2 members of Gambit that was required to seriously focus down Xaxus. It took a lot of time, let's go with that one, to actually kill him. And that is a Jax without any defensive items. In 4.5, the scaling runes have actually been tweaked. They are slightly more effective. And I believe that Xaxus is running a fair number of them, so it's going to allow him to scale a little bit more effectively into this late game without investing so much gold right now.
Which Jax player goes defensive? Don't need those things. We've seen that right there. Although no kills to his name yet, he is becoming a little bit of trouble for Gambit. We'll see how that all works out as Alexic gets himself another blue buff. He's up to 154 CS, still bang level at this point with Overpow's Lulu. Sure he'll be happy with how that one is working out for him. We've also seen Trinity Force now being completed by Darien's Irelia 1-2-1 and still lacking when it comes to CS if you compare that over towards Xaxus. Overpower, you're going to get chased down by Genja, playing very, very aggressive through the ward over there into that Wraith camp just to check it out and maybe follow through onto Overpower, but as he sees him back away, he'll say, okay then, free Wraith camp for me.
Yeah, great play there by Genja. Just very good mechanical ability. Chasing through an Overpow. He doesn't have a lot of defensive stats. He's relying purely on that shield to stay alive in those situations. Now, we have seen that ROCCAT have been unable to make a map impact. They do hook Diamond, but nobody's really close enough to support. And I think ROCCAT are looking for situations, looking for a way to invade Gambit's jungle risk-free, or safer would be a safer way to put it. Celaver, he's going to get dived.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get away from it either. That's 3 men coming in, but Wild Growth comes out. Darien sank into it. Xaxus gets that one. Incredible stuff. Slow is flashed away from there by Diamond. Alexic will rift walk. It's all about the hook. He has to flash it. I don't think he had the range anyway, but better safe than sorry there. And that, from what looked like an easy finisher onto Celaver, turned out to be a nightmare for Gambit, and they're going for Baron.
I cannot believe how close that was to Celaver going down. The Summoner heal plus that Wild Growth keeps him alive. Now they're on Baron and they are going to shred through this. There's nobody really close by. Now Diamond's coming in. There's a teleport as well.
Teleport coming to the backside. Baron is already very low. The tidal wave going to go through the middle of the team. There is a Baron taken by ROCCAT. They get the kill as well. We did see Thresh goes down, but Darien's diving in there. Alexic is there as well. Darien is going to die from this one, but both Genja and Alexic doing masses of damage. There's a good repel away, but he can't get away from the damage. Double kill for Alexic. A 4 for 2 in the end. Yes, ROCCAT got that Baron, but the kills were nice from Gambit afterwards.
Hashtag not worth. ROCCAT rushed down the Baron, but they didn't get it down quickly enough. Trinity Force was not completed on Xaxus, and yes, there's a Zeal and a Bloodthirster sitting on Celaver, but truthfully, the amount of damage that was coming down from the Gambit squad and the number of directions of threat You have a tidal wave flinging from the right-hand side. Diamond comes from the top. Alex is waiting in the wings on the right. And because of the amount of presence that ROCCAT needed to deal with and focus on, by the time Darien arrives, the rest of Gambit have got superior positioning. Great exhaust on Xaxus makes his couple of seconds of fight impact somewhat meaningless, and a very quick kill into Celaver allowed them to just clean up this fight very efficiently. 2 for 4. Baron does go to ROCCAT, so I think probably net gold gain is still sitting with ROCCAT, but you can't deny the power and the impact of removing that buff from the members of the team in favor of Gambit.
That's going to give a bit of insecurity, that's the word, unsecurity. Actually, the German word came into my head first. That's a worrying sign, I think. Been living here too long. But yeah, insecurity, that's the one that they had there. I don't even know where I'm going with this. Over to you, QuickShot.
Perfect.
Why don't you have a talk?
I will, because we do see the Iceborne Gauntlets being picked up now for Kassadin. So we're seeing the first 4.5. His kit was reworked not only to remove the silence from his Q, give him a shield when he jumps into team fights to help survive, but also on his W, you're going to be increasing the amount of damage that he deals. There's an on-hit component, it restores mana if he hits champions, and when you combo that with the Iceborne Gauntlet, oh, we'll get to that, Xaxus may go down.
Going to get caught a little bit from this one, did get his stun off, and actually will leap strike away onto that ward that he had from his trinket. No problem for him there. And Gambit deciding, okay, we've got no real vision going any further down the river or in towards their jungle. Let's just let him have that one and escape from it. We've got 45 seconds here, 3/4 of a minute until that dragon comes up once again. Sits at 1 apiece right now with ROCCAT taking the last one. Slightly
superior vision for ROCCAT near the bottom half of the river. And just to finish up the point on that gauntlet, because of the changes to Kassadin and having his nether blades dealing that magic damage, when you combine the Sheen Burst plus the zone control it's going to give you with the slow, it buys him a little bit of time. Rift Walk in, get the slow, start to mitigate, use your shield from your Q, and Rift Walk out, in theory. We'll see how it works out, because I do think his upfront assassination potential is significantly lower with this build, but we do need to see it actually play out, because it is the first time we've seen Kassadin on this patch.
So, Dragon up in 5 then. No massive ward concentration down that side of the map just yet, although ROCCAT have started to move in position. We see that Gambit already in there as well as a ward at the backside, which Xaxus is going to take away. The Dragon now down to less than half HP. They're going to try and come in for this one. It's going to be Gambit that get it. There's a repel coming away. Good tidal wave will knock them in the air, but it's Celaver that picks up Darien first. Diamond's going to fall as well. He was exhausted for that fight, and now Xaxus and Celaver just start to rip through the entirety of the team. Xaxus is going to try and escape. Genja will get away. Xaxus is probably going to run them on a bit of a wild goose chase here, but as the slow lands onto him, that makes it all the harder. The play comes in, and it's the shutdown from Jankos. That's a 4-0 in favor of ROCCAT.
Gambit do not want team fights. We talked about how their composition needs to find picks. They need to blow somebody up as quickly as possible and then have a numbers advantage in the team fight. The moment you start dealing with an Elise, you put a whole bunch of damage on it. She's going to repel away to dodge the rest of it. We see the wild growth coming in there. It's so difficult to focus down a Jax who's going to throw down his ultimate and get bonus resistances. So at the end of the day, Gambit stayed grouped up and they did blow somebody up. They have re-engaged now. Overpow may get taken out, or not.
Or not. Darien might get taken out. He went a little bit too deep on that one. The rest of the ROCCAT team's coming in. Wait for the hook to come through. Where is it going to go? Vander throws it out. He catches Edward at the back. Goes straight in. Wild growth knocks Darien up as well. And that's 2 more kills for ROCCAT with the turret as well. Diamond is trying to get away. Celaver going very, very deep on that one. Xaxus tries to burst him down, but they've got tower takedown potential as the hook lands onto Alex. He walks to safety again, but the in-him turret's down, and ROCCAT are going for the in-him.
There's nothing that can stop them right now. Alex and Diamond, if they want to commit, I'm convinced they're going to get dropped down. ROCCAT are landing so many skill shots, one after the other, and every time they connect, Gambit lose objectives. The problem that Gambit have right now is their wave clear is so reliant on their ultimates. There's not the greatest AoE from Kha'Zix. Irelia is going to rely on her Transcendent Blades and Lucian on the culling. Outside of that, it's such risky wave clear, which is why every time ROCCAT get close to those towers, they seem to find those kills. It happened 10 minutes ago in the bottom lane, it happened 3 seconds ago in the middle lane, and I do believe it's going to continue happening until Gambit can find better vision and find more picks.
And I hate to say it again, but Darien, Not sure what he was thinking there. He went far too deep. ROCCAT had all moved around from that bottom lane. Again, credit has to go over to Vander, who's hit some absolutely exquisite hooks here. Even the last one onto Alex, which couldn't be followed up on for obvious reasons there. That Kassadin got far too much mobility, but again, we saw the power of Xaxus diving straight into the middle of the team as well. Trinity Force, Blade of the Ruin King. He's going to be working himself up towards that Randuin's here shortly as well. This is the kind of Jax that you don't want to find yourself up against. 100%
kill participation for Overpow. If you want to see somebody that is reading the tempo of this game and is at the right place at the right time, he has saved his teammates every single time that Wild Growth has been used. You could create a compilation of him saving ROCCAT members. Celaver on the top lane after the dive. In the river, saving Jankos after the dive. Throwing it on Vander after that last tower dive. It's just every single time he's connecting and he's making it count. I do want to touch on an item build very quickly because a Warden's Mail has been picked up. So maybe it's Kassa Tank instead of Kassa Win or Kassadin or however you're going to go for it. Not a traditional build. I do think that is very important considering how many auto attackers there are with Jax as well as Jinx in your face. So we'll see how it pans out with this tank Kassadin because I'm not convinced so far.
Time to do the damage, could be now as well. Baron has come back into the game. The last one, of course, went to ROCCAT, but Gambit picked up the kills directly afterwards. Will that change this time around? ROCCAT are already doing the work on the backside there, as we see Alex here, split pushing away on the bottom side. He, of course, has that teleport available to him. Xaxus doesn't have the teleport, which means that ROCCAT have to make a decision here. It means that Xaxus is going to have to try and keep Alexich down on this bottom side of the map if he's wanting to get involved. There is the Blade of the Ruin King used. Xaxus going to go in. Is he going to get the stun off? No, Alex just walking just out of range.
Yeah, you never really think Jax is going to be able to 1v1 Kassadin thanks to that Rift War cooldown. He'll get some auto attacks, but not going to be enough. Darien is waiting in the wings. I lie entirely. It wasn't. And we do see that Gambit secure their own red buff. They needed multiple members there out of fear of the invade. You'll see that ROCCAT have got much better vision in and around the Baron pit, and Gambit haven't left this red buff area. So I'm wondering if they're afraid that a sneaky Baron is going to be going on, or ROCCAT are going to be forcing the objective. And I did see the ward in the pit.
We'll just throw him down in there so they at least know that nothing directly in the pit is going on right now. But Vander again getting into position. Got those Moby boots, so he's got a fair bit of pace on him. And he moves through, gets another ward into that curved brush, and he's going to try and clear things out here. Diamond just stalking off to the back, and he's in full vision of Vander. So Vander, you saw him step back there, a little bit cautious as to whether that Kha'Zix is going to jump over. Again, we see Xaxus dive onto Alex. As you said, though, you can't really lock down a Kassadin.
No, I really don't think that you can. I'm trying to understand what Gambit's thought process is with this composition, because if you've got multiple assassins, you have upfront burst and you want somebody to execute. I wonder why they didn't go for a Jinx as their AD carry. Yes, it would have been a bit riskier, but they would have had the damage to close out those fights. Right now, though, you do see Baron has been started. Gambit coming in from the sides. They peeled for Diamond.
Oh, Diamond, though, he's going to get cocooned, and he's going to go down. That was brilliant stuff. You saw the ping ward put in position there, gave them the vision, not invisible anymore, and the Baron is going to go for a second time in a row over to ROCCAT.
At this point in time, ROCCAT already have a composition that is better at sieging turrets than Gambit's is at defending them. They just need to group up. Knowing that Jax has teleport also allows ROCCAT that air of safety to split push with a 4-man team in one lane and leave Jax as a 1-man team in another lane.
That 4-man team is pushing now along the top lane, and Overpow says, I got a shield all day long, and Vander will add into that as well with Thresh. That turret goes down without really the need for those minions to come in and tank it up for them, and it's all now about that inhibitor turret. Of course, the inhibitor in the middle lane is completely wide open. Genja actually throwing out his ultimate here. The Cologne taking down that minion wave, but look at that, the next one right there behind them, and they're going to try and work themselves in for another turret kill.
Yeah, we do see that Alex is making his way back. Oh, they caught Diamond!
They caught Diamond, he actually goes away! Super Mega Death Rocket comes through, not quite got the execute. Meanwhile, down in the bottom lane, Alex is just having to defend against the minions that were pushed up there by Jax, and here is the hook coming out. There was a minion right in front of him. Don't think he spotted that that one was there. Did land though, so still good accuracy from Vander.
At this point in time, Xaxus is continuing to split push this bottom lane. He got a couple of auto attacks off a few moments ago. That death sentence doesn't connect, but look at the damage onto Genja. 2 auto attacks from Celaver and he loses 50% of his HP. I actually like the fact that Celaver's playing pretty safe. He does get caught by a bubble, but it's not worth the risk to jump in.
damage going to be thrown out here. Genja trying his best to poke them back from this one. Edward almost at half HP once again, and got a fear for that hook. And look at that bottom lane once again. We see Jax continuing to move up closer on towards that turret. They've actually pulled Alexich away from this one. They're going to go for the 5v4. Box comes down. Alexich getting caught in the cocoon. There is a tidal wave going over as well. A good bubble comes in, but look at Celaver with the wild growth on. And now Jax is in the fight. He's absolutely hammering away on them. Darien's going to fall. That's 2 men down. All 5 members of ROCCAT are still alive on this one. They're going to take the inhib turret. The inhibitor will fall as well. And now they chased over on towards Diamond. The hook doesn't land. Well, that's the first inhibitor. The second one will go down. They can take that bottom side, if not finish it.
There are so many minions coming through the middle of this lane, and part of the reason that fight was so convincing for ROCCAT, after the 3-man bubble from Edward, Xaxus lands a 3-man counter-strike, locking up the entire Gambit team. Gambit panicked, trying to focus him down. They've caught Diamond.
They've caught Diamond. The flame will knock him back into sure death. Now Genja is going to be the focus. One more hit will do it. That's another kill for Celaver. The Nexus turrets are already gone, and it's ROCCAT that pick up game number 1 here in the quarterfinal.
Absolutely phenomenal performance. We see new champion picks coming out of the side of Gambit. The Irelia, the new Kassadin, as well as that Nami. And truthfully, while the Nami bubbles I do feel were very good, I'm not entirely convinced by that Irelia and that Kassadin. I think as a composition, had Gambit got ahead early, they had the ability to dash in and find kills, but that wasn't the case. And every time they were looking to kill somebody, a wild growth came down from Overpow, and it was like, yeah, what do you want to do now? Your burst is gone.
Every single time, those wild growths as well. The first one that we saw, the first spectacular one, was Celaver in the top lane. We thought, sure death coming in. There's 3 or 4 men diving him. Wild growth knocks him up in the air. They end up turning that fight around. And that continued throughout the game. We saw the fight where Darien, after they'd already lost 4 men, Darien